Boom! Yet again, it's me, Peter, coming at your ass with another review. Hello, boys and girls. You are now listening and watching Peter Talks WWE Live, Madison Square Garden, also known as WWE MSG. And this show itself was built around no other than Brock Lesnar. I don't know if his return. Yeah, his return to Madison Square Garden post UFC career to face the Big Show. If you've been keeping up, that's all they've really been promoting since Night of Champions with the Eat, Sleep, Go to Hell, Repeat. This is the Go to Hell tour where Brock Lesnar is going to do a bunch of shit, whether it's talk to Stone Cold or this MSG show facing The Undertaker and Hell in a Cell. So you would think that's all that was on the card, but it wasn't all on. That wasn't all that was on the card. Actually, it was a chock full of matches. And when you think about it, okay, this is a house show, but because it's televised on, well, not televised, that it's being shown on the network, there's just a little something special to it. It's in Madison Square Garden. Normally when they're in New York, they're at Barclays. Barclays is a little bit cheaper. And also Madison Square Garden, it stays booked. So for them to actually get a Saturday in there and to sort of bring back the old like Saturday night main event sort of thing going, MSG, Bruno Sammartino and all that stuff, it was actually really special. The way that it looked was really cool. The lighting was awesome. The people were all into it. It was something special, and it was like 18,000 people showed up to it, and which I'm quite surprised. It was almost like, I would think in New York, almost like the circus coming into town. And if you look in the crowd, that's what it actually looked like. A lot of kids, but then you've seen a lot of adults, a lot of celebrities too. And you got to see Brock Lesnar guy. Who the fuck is this dude? What does he do for a living? How is he able to show up to every event that Brock Lesnar is at? He shows up to everything. And he was sitting right there behind the booth. So, as for this house show, again, I only expected but so much. It wasn't a pay-per-view, it wasn't a Raw, but it did move the needle to a certain degree. You got special matches like Kevin Owens versus Chris Jericho for the Intercontinental Belt, and then you also got a cage match, and you got Brock Lesnar versus the Big Show. So it almost kind of had like a pay-per-view feel, but it also kind of had like a Raw feel. And it also had your basic house show feel, but it wasn't your typical house show. Now, does anything in terms of the needle move? Not really. I would say the Dudley Boys match. I would say what's to happen to Big Show after this. Like this is a still ongoing story of how they're handling the Big Show, and also the feud between Team PCB, the Inner Turmoil, with Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, and Paige, and say, Dean, what is it? Yeah, Dean and Seth. The Demon Kane and Seth Rollins, the Dudley Boys, and the New Day. We still get that moving forward. So all around, I would say this was a really excellent show, like front to back. Why they can't do stuff like this on Raw is beyond me. Oh, I know why. Because they actually separated themselves from the entertainment aspect of the show. They actually kept it in ring, which is really refreshing once you think about it. It moved by swiftly. It didn't feel like a 2.5-hour show. It just stuck to the basics. We get in the ring. We have a match. we have a winner, we have a loser, someone gets disqualified, and then that's it. You move on. Rather than a bunch of backstage skits, a bunch of packages, a storyline that just basically sucks the life out of you. You just get to the point. You don't need a bunch of entertainment to actually entertain. All right. With that said, let's go into this review of WWE MSG. Which I thought, the commentary booth, I thought was quite surprising. I thought I would see Michael Cole, maybe Booker T, or even Jerry the King Lawler, but no, you get the Young Bucks in there with, not Young Bucks like the Super Kick Party Young Bucks, but you get Rich Brennan and Byron Saxton. This is a big spot, and for those guys to get thrown in there, where the hell is Tom Phillips? What the fuck is Tom Phillips? Can anyone tell me what the fuck Tom Phillips is? He hasn't been on SmackDown. I mean, is he on NXT? I never really pay attention to the commentary on NXT. But is he there? Because I imagine he was going to be there. But they're high on Brennan now. They're high on Saxton. And they got the veteran JBL at ringside calling the show. But yeah, I was quite surprised that it would go with those two on there rather than, say, Jerry the King Lawler or, say, Michael Cole. But it is a house show. I guess they got the day off. The first match is, basically Raw worthy, but it's Sheamus and Rusev versus Ziggler and Orton. And I guess they changed the booking of this because when I actually did our, me and Jake did our predictions, the match itself was just going to be Orton versus Sheamus. But I guess the backlash of that, or maybe creative, or the booking came to their fucking senses to not put MSG to sleep right from the fucking jump. So they threw Rusev and Dolph in there. And surprisingly, Orton had a amazing ovation when he came in. I mean, people like Dolph, people responded to Sheamus, and people, responded to Rusev. But the star walked in the building when I hear voices in my head dropped, and it was ovation. I was quite surprised. I think it caught Randy Orton by surprise too. And Orton looked happy, He's in a weird spot right now, just sort of drifting along the mid card. But you know what? He has a different thing going on to him now. And I've been watching his matches now other than, say, Sheamus. His matches have actually been enjoyable because he's taken on this babyface role as, I would say, pep rally Randy. He's been doing it for a while, but it's now becoming part of his repertoire where he just whips the crowd into a frenzy. And his movements are jerky, kind of slithery. It's pretty cool. He's smiling and he's having a good time. And you could tell that this match, he was very relaxed. There was one part where I think Orton got a thumb to the eye. That was pretty funny. He thumbs Rusev, who sells that thumb to the eye almost the entire match. The match itself, Ziggler's in there a lot. He has the ring cut off. There's a bunch of scoop slams that Rusev puts on him, and then he returns a scoop slam. Orton gets the hot tag, and he's a house of fire, just letting loose. Crowd goes crazy. He's whipping everyone up. He's getting everyone up and jumping. And, maybe he's taking this role as a guy who starts the evening. He's taking it and embraced it. It's like, if this is my role, I'm going to fucking tear it up. But he, right around the end, after his hot tag, he sidesteps a brogue kick. Just kind of just sidesteps that son of a bitch, which Sheamus is met with a super kick by Dolph Ziggler and then hit with a beautiful RKO for the victory. And Dolph and Randy Orton come out with the victory. And then Rusev decides he wants to turn on Sheamus and calls him useless. He said, I could have beat the both of them. And then his bitchin' ass ends up getting brogued. And then Sheamus stands over him, kiss my arse, which I hate it because I if you want Sheamus to be this low down despicable heel, you don't need him to be chastised by another heel to become a sympathetic figure. And that's what's been happening with Rusev, and I'm like, bad call with that booking right there. You get Kane in the back on crutches, and there's a little bit of something. They're still going with this Kane Seth storyline, and they just can't leave it alone. They can't just have this just be a night of matches, but they tied in. They didn't overdo it, but it almost, to me, just they could have done without. But he's back and forth during the corporate and the demon character, and he basically talks about Seth Rollins' upcoming match. You have Stardust versus Neville, and the non-stop feud between the two of these. At some point, it has to come to an end, but I guess that's all they got. You know, I like Stardust. I also like Neville. Again, this is just a house show, so I'm not like kicking and screaming, but at the same time, something needs to blow this off real quick. Like real quick. It's getting stale. It's getting extremely stale. You would think with that arrow from SummerSlam would have blown this off. You would think. But it's still going on, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon. The storyline is that Stardust is just obsessed with the cape. He goes for it once, then he goes for it again, and he actually gets up on the top buckle as if he's about to do the red arrow, imitating Neville. Whatever. He misses. I guess Neville gets up, and then he applies his own red arrow. Beautiful thing. Madison Square Garden pops. It's a lovely move. But if you can remember a week ago, what happened during a Stardust and Neville's match, Barrett shows up. We haven't seen Barrett since, and I'm thinking that he was probably going to show up during this match to just sort of do that three-way triple clusterfuck of a fucking feud, but he doesn't show up, and Neville just gets the clean victory. And that's what I actually, and then speaking of which, that's what I even, this is what I even predicted, that like, all right, this is going to be the babyface nights. I mean, it's a house show. You know, I'm thinking the only heel victory that's going to happen is Kevin Owens over Chris Jericho. And but we do have another heel team that does go over. But before I go into that match, we get Heyman and Young with Renee Young in the back, and he puts over MSG, plays Pops. He puts over New York, and then he talks about how Madison Square Garden will be the city hall for Suplex City. And the way that he's actually cutting the promo, he actually kind of drapes himself over Renee's arm with the microphone, and he's just like, he's just talking as she's awkwardly, she's awkwardly holding the microphone. God damn it! You gotta love the what do you call it? As the Raw anonymous general manager. Fuck off, dude. Well, anyway, he's cutting the promo as she's holding the mic under him, and she's just holding it. I'm thinking at some point she's gonna have to give, but he cuts the promos, pretty, swift to the point promo about the night, and then that moves that storyline towards later. We get Team Bella versus Team PCB, who are still intact. I'm still waiting for the heel turn, everybody. It hasn't happened yet. I'm still waiting. For Paige, at least. But Team Bella comes out together as Alicia Fox, Brie, and Nikki Bella. But then Team PCB actually get their own individual entrances, which I found very interesting, to say the least. The match itself, it's just to build the tension between Paige and the rest of PCB, between Paige and Becky and Charlotte, and at first Becky's in and Paige tags herself in, and that basically builds the tension. At some point, Charlotte gets the hot tag. She goes to put the figure 8 on Nikki Bella, but Paige tags herself in at the very end, screams at Charlotte to get the fuck out the ring. And with that whole thing going on, it was enough to get Nikki the advantage. And then Paige herself just gets beat down for 3-4 minutes. And as soon as she gets out of the trouble, has the ring cut off, she goes to tag Charlotte and or Becky. They both just jump off the apron and they leave her in the ring as a fuck you. And then Nikki uses that as an opportunity to apply the rack attack. My baby Nikki Bella gets the pin. And then Paige cuts a whiny promo about how she would never do that to her friends. How dare they do that to me? I would never do that. So that pushes that storyline forward. We're still waiting to see what actually happens with this. I think we got some "We Want Sasha" chants in the crowd. Oh, I got an alert saying that my battery was low. But we get some Sasha Banks chants in the crowd. I think that's what I hear. But nevertheless, we still have to see what happens with this Paige versus Becky and Charlotte feud. Again, to me, she still hasn't turned. We get Chris Jericho versus Kevin Owens. Fantastic match, I must say. Fantastic match. I can't put this match over any further. Maybe because you got two Canadian guys just going to work. Kevin Owens, who's doing a really good job at the swarmy heel. Chris Jericho, Y2J, how can you not love Y2J? He comes back, I'm always excited. But we have to remember what happened at just happened at Night of Champions. He shows up, but then that's it. He joins up with Ambrose and Reigns, and then you don't see him anymore. But as we all know, Jericho is doing house shows. He's not on the show. He's just basically doing house shows, having fun. But we get this IC match. It's for the Intercontinental belt. If you can remember from SmackDown, he faced Ryback for the Intercontinental belt. And he was able to hold on to the belt because he stayed out for the 10 count. Jericho at first cuts a promo about today, that day, October 3rd, marks the 25th anniversary of him actually in the wrestling business. He says he starts out in this place in Canada with Lance Storm. Lance Storm is, and he points to him. Lance Storm is in front. He gets a good pop. He's sitting beside John Stewart, which is pretty interesting. And he talks about how that first match with him was in front of 50 people. And, he started in 50 people, and now he's in Madison Square Garden, his 25th anniversary. And, in front of 18,000 at Madison Square Garden. You couldn't ask for anything better than that. But also to become the 10-time Intercontinental champ. I knew he wasn't going to win this. Oh, yeah, basically. And also, the faction, the heel faction won. So, of that. And then I was saying that Kevin Owens would win this. That would be the only heel to win on the night because, house shows are babyface driven. But this match itself, again, it's fantastic. It's high action. It's amazing to see Chris Jericho still go at such a high rate, but he still has this classic sort of style to him. And Owen complements that greatly. There's a spot where Owens hits a package bomb, which was pretty impressive. Jericho goes for the lion salt that gets caught with the knees, which is followed by a cannonball and then a swan dive attempt by Kevin Owens, which is met with knees. We get a Walls of Jericho, but Owens grabs the rope to make the break. We get a code breaker, but on that pin, Owen grabs the rope, and then when Kevin Owens is about to go up for a second pop-up powerbomb, that's reversed into a second attempt to the Walls of Jericho. But as he's going for the Walls of Jericho, thumb to the eye, I popped because I love that swarmy shit that heels do. I mean, it doesn't happen enough for heels because everyone's trying to be fucking cool, but not Owens. He tries to be cool a lot, but like at least he raked the eyes of Ryback to win the belt. He stays out the ring to keep the belt. He takes the loss, but he keeps the belt on SmackDown. And then here he thumbs the eye of Chris Jericho for the roll-up and the 1-2-3 victory. And Kevin Owens is still your Intercontinental Champ. And I think this will definitely be, and I'm no Owens mark by any means, but I'd imagine someone like him, his reign as Intercontinental Champion will be by far eons, miles, galaxies, light years better than Ryback's reign. Ryback, they booked him to be too fucking vanilla. And you got this guy, Kevin Owens, who's actually being a dirtbag with the belt. And he delivers in the ring as well. We get the New Day versus the Dudley Boys. And I predicted that the Dudleys was actually going to win the belts. It's Madison Square Garden. They're New York veterans. Plus, this would have been their 10th time. When the New Day comes out, the place pops. Everyone loves the New Day. I think they actually chant New Day rocks. And they shoot. They talk about how, they do a great promo. It's definitely worth checking out. Those guys just deliver. Again, the closest thing to Attitude Era we can get is from the New Day. Just people who don't even have to be in the ring. They don't even have to be in the ring. They could just talk and just do just crazy shit and just have you at the palm of their hands. So they finally put it into the Dudleys, and they finally saved the tables. Tonight they finally saved the tables. What's going on here? It's a good match. Great match between the two. We got Kofi Kingston and Big E with the trombone outside. You get one involvement of Xavier Wood by pushing Bubba off the top rope from the... Oh, not Bubba, but Devon off the top rope when they do the whole WhatsApp thing. And they hit 3D on Kofi, which you think they're about to win the belts, but Xavier Woods, just like Night of Champions, goes in and creates a DQ. They still retain the belts. Dudley Boys win. I said they would win, but I said they'll win the belts. They won via DQ. New Day still retains the championships. And then they just stomp a mud hole in the Dudleys. And then Woods, again, just like Night of Champions, they go become hypocrites and they go get the tables to put Devon. Are they putting Devon? They were going to put somebody to fuck through a table. But anyway, the Dudley Boys sort of turn the tables, and as Xavier Woods is doing the death trombone, he's not aware that the Dudleys just cleared out the ring of his brethren Kofi and Big E, which leaves him in there alone with the Dudley Boys, who put a 3D on him through a table, and he lays dead. This is the second time they've done this. This is basically the same ending they did at Night of Champions. And then we get not necessarily the main event, but we get what this live event is for, and it's the Brock versus Big Show match. And when they come out, when they're finally in the ring, you're thinking, man, Big Show actually has a chance. He no-sells a couple of clotheslines from Brock Lesnar. Then he tosses him out the ring, just straight manhandling him. He drops him with 3 choke slams. And like, oh shit, we're actually getting a match. We're going to see something. But in Brock Lesnar fashion, we take a right turn to Suplex City. And yeah, man. Whew. After he kicks out of the third choke slam, he sidesteps a punch and then one suplex, two suplex, three suplex. He tries to get him up into an F5, which results in him failing. Almost, I don't know if they did that. I don't know if it was a work or a shoot, but it ends up just being kind of like a unsuccessful or very lackluster fisherman's carry. But then he hits him with a fourth suplex. He actually gets his ass up and an F5, drops him, ball game. Lesnar leaves. You got Big Show still in the ring. I think he tries to stand up. He stands back up. Lesnar's like, oh, you still up, motherfucker? He comes back and basically picked the bones. Show's reeling like a motherfucker. And it looks like he's trying to like stay up and like fight. But Brock Lesnar gives him a belly-to-belly suplex. And who we get? And get hit with another F5. And you think the Big Show is dead. You want the trombone to come back out and burr, burr, burr. But no. He pulls a Cena. He actually gets the fuck back up. He steps out the ring and he walks out after that huge beating. I mean, maybe he's a tough motherfucker. I would think that Lesnar probably wasn't happy that he actually got up, but maybe this was the part of the booking to make. I mean, if you're able to take that kind of a beating from the baddest man on the planet, Brock Lesnar, and get up on your own terms and walk out, you're a tough motherfucker. I mean, straight up. But I just thought it was pretty funny. Like, let's hear it for the Big Show. Like, I thought that was unnecessary. It made him look like a fucking jabroni. But anyway, we get to the main event. Not necessarily the cell of the actual card, but to the last match, main event, which is a steel cage match, which I thought was going to happen, between John Cena and Seth Rollins for the U.S. Championship. And I'll just run through this. I'm not sure. I think that was his mom that Cena kissed. He kissed somebody. I think it was his mom. But then he stares at Jon Stewart. And if anyone remembers, again, Night of Champions, Jon Stewart came in and prevented John Cena from winning the belt by sticking him in the stomach with a chair. And he kind of stares at him, and Stewart is just stroking his beard. That's a funny feud. Here we go. All right. Nothing exciting at first, because any steel cage match nowadays is going to be lackluster because you can't get blood anymore. And that's what the steel cage match, that was the gimmick, that it was actually, no holds barred, like, blood and the use of the cage. But it takes a while for them to finally use the cage. But we only get like a grating of the face by Seth Rollins onto Cena, and then you get him tossing Cena into the cage, I think like twice, and then Cena returns the favor, and then that's as much of the use of the cage we get. There's all these several times that both are trying to escape. We get a punch out on the top rope where I think, that it was coming. Someone was going to actually hang from the cage. It ended up being Rollins. Cena puts him back up. They're sitting. They do the boo, yeah, on top of the cage. There's a spot where you get this really super athletic closing of the door on John Cena, where Seth Rollins hops on the top turnbuckle as Cena's trying to escape. He hops on the top turnbuckle, climbs the top of the cage, and then kicks the door closed in Cena's face as he's going out. That was pretty fucking awesome. We get an STF by John Cena, and then Seth Rollins reverses the STF to apply his own STF, and then that's into like a fisherman carry. Not an AA, but a fisherman. He has him up, John Cena. but Rollins escapes the fisherman when he gets him up about to apply the AA into a low blow. Now, steel cage match, no disqualification, so there was no disqualification for the low blow. And then after the low blow, he proceeds to climb the top of the cage, right? And I'm like, why didn't you just walk out the door? But as he's about to get off the cage, here comes Kane. And Kane just basically, he makes him afraid to basically jump down. Because if you jump down, Kane's going to whoop your ass. So rather than to jump down and win the victory and get an ass whooping from Kane, he proceeds to attempt a frog splash off the top of the cage. Idiot. Ugh, big spot. I hate when... It was too reckless. I'll just say it was pretty reckless. That cage is pretty high up. It looked beautiful, but it's just reckless. You do that for a pay-per-view, not for something like this. But he goes for the frog splash. Second time a frog splash is an embarrassment. Rest in peace, Eddie Guerrero. I mean, he's probably turned in his grave when he no-selled the splash, when Cena no-selled the splash 2 Mondays ago, and now he's probably turned the fuck back over for the fact that he missed on top of a steel cage. But after the missed frog splash, you get the AA from Cena, and this is the third time for the pin, and this is the third clean pin from John Cena. And he's as much as a number one contender for that world championship than anybody. But we have to go through this filler with Kane. Where they go with this, I don't know. I mean, they're writing themselves in. Again, I digress because it is a house show. You still have to maintain that it's a house show. Cena's going to go on top almost always in that situation. Anyway, when he finally leaves, Kane enters the steel cage to pick the bones of a hurt up, reeling Seth Rollins. He hits him with a choke slam and then a tombstone pile driver. And that's how the show ends. Again, I will give this show, you know what? I give this motherfucker a 10. It served its purpose as a house show. Madison Square Garden looked beautiful. You got some great matches. I mean, there's nothing to complain about this other than that, how they're just mistreating the fucking frog splash. That's it. Everything ran perfect. I would say the only thing that was undesirable was the Neville Stardust. They could have done without that. They could have just kept that off. Maybe brought in Cesaro. Cesaro versus, I don't know. Who cares? Just in there. The opening match you thought was going to be a dud. It ended up rocking. It was a really good match. Jericho returned. Great match with Owens. You get this steel cage match. It was decent, I guess. I mean, for what it's worth, it was what it is. So I give it, rather than a 10, I give it a 9. I give it a A plus. I give it an A minus. Sorry, I give it an A minus. How about that? You can never have a perfect show. You can never have a perfect show, ever. But you know what? This is as good as it gets. And I hope, I only wish that Raw was ran like this, That'd be awesome. That would be awesome if it was just less entertainment and more storyline, like in-ring storyline, rather than a bunch of madness behind Triple H, Stephanie McMahon. But yeah, thanks for checking out this review, man. I'm doing it on a low battery, so that was a weird spot where I sneezed last time, and now, I cut it out back. If you're listening on iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, I edited out those sneezes from the last review, but I feel like doing it with the video. So we got sneezes from the last video, and then we got my battery almost going out, and the fucking anonymous Raw general manager fucking bugging me. One day these are going to run smoothly, but until then, we keep it real with the Peter Talks series. And again, hit that button below. Subscribe if you enjoy this review. Also, SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes. Just go to any of them and look for Peter and Jake Talks Wrestling. That's WRASSLIN. Peter and Jake Talks Wrestling. That's the flagship for these reviews. Whether it's Peter's Raw Recap, Peter's special reviews, which this is one, whether it's Peter Talks SmackDown or the New Day podcast with me and Nathan Newman of Eyes on the Ring Radio. So yes, any of those, YouTube, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iTunes, Peter and Jake Talks Wrestling. Subscribe, add, comment, like, and share. Sharing is caring, please, because I'm just trying to get. We just want to be heard, man. I like to think I do well enough reviews for you to share, make you giggle, make you laugh a little bit. Be sure to tune in Monday. I have a lot of content, man. With Raw recap, I will do a Raw recap, and then before then, you will get a New Day podcast, and we will probably talk about that very special, and then other things in wrestling. And then Wednesday, we got Peter and Jake Talks Wrestling. We got Jake Grande joining. It's Peter and Jake from Fast in the World podcast, where he reviews NXT. And then after that, we will have Peter Talks SmackDown. All right? So make sure you check out my homegirl, Keita. Again, Keita, she was on a Peter Talks Wrestling with and a SmackDown review not too long ago. She has a podcast called Keita and NJ Show. So KEDANJAY. Just look for them on SoundCloud. Check them out. They're funny, very funny. They're fun. And I hope to get her back on very soon, and so she can actually promote her new podcast. I saw that she posted No Holds Barred, so she's gonna do wrestling movie reviews as well. So that's be fun stuff. So yes, please subscribe, please share. Thank you for checking this shit out. We'll see you tomorrow, and do yourself a favor and look out for those foreign objects. Enjoy the rest of your day. Football. Peace.